You know that person who eats the exact same breakfast every single day, hits the gym at the same time, and basically has a total meltdown if their schedule shifts by even 10 minutes? Most of us think they're just being extra or a little too intense. But here's the thing, their brain is actually wired completely differently than yours. And honestly, they might be winning at life in ways you haven't even realized yet. See, routine lovers aren't just boring or predictable. They're actually being incredibly strategic. Psychologists have finally proven this, and some of the findings are going to absolutely blow your mind. But you're going to want to stick around for this because there's a massive hidden trap to all the structure, something nobody is talking about, and it could be quietly sabotaging your potential right now. We're diving into the secret psychology of the habit obsessed, and why your daily routine is basically a cheat code for your brain, if you use it right. Alright, so let's talk about why these creatures of habit are the way they are. Is it just a personality quirk? Or is there something deeper going on under the hood? Psychologists have actually dug into this, and it turns out it's all linked to something called high conscientiousness. It's one of the big 5 personality traits, and for these folks, order isn't just a preference, it's a neurological craving. I'm talking about a literal dopamine hit. Every time their day goes exactly according to plan, their brain rewards them like they just hit the jackpot on a Vegas slot machine. They're basically getting high on their own habits. Think about that for a second. While most of us are struggling to just find our keys in the morning, their brain is already handing out prizes for sticking to the script. Duke University actually dropped a study showing that about 45% of what we do every day isn't even a conscious decision. It's just straight-up habit. But for the routine-obsessed, that number is way higher. They've pushed their daily lives into a state of total automation. They're essentially productivity geniuses operating on a sophisticated level of autopilot, getting more done before 9 a.m. than most people do all day. And here's where it gets even weirder. While you might think all that rigid structure would be stressful, it's actually the ultimate hack for your mental health. It sounds totally backwards, right? Most of us think a strict schedule would feel like being trapped in a cage, but for these routine enthusiasts, it's actually the ultimate stress reliever. Their anxiety levels are way lower than the average person's, and the reason why is something called decision fatigue. Think about your morning. You're staring at your closet trying to pick an outfit, debating whether to grab a latte or make coffee at home, or scrolling through Spotify just to find a vibe. Every single one of those tiny choices is like a tiny leak in your brain's battery. By the time you actually start work, your mental juice is already half drained. Routine lovers just skip all that. They eliminate the fluff so their brain can save all its high-level energy for the stuff that actually matters. This is exactly why icons like Barack Obama only wore blue or gray suits, and why Steve Jobs hit the stage in that same black turtleneck every single time. Mark Zuckerberg and his army of gray t-shirts. Same deal. These guys weren't fashion-challenged, they were being cognitively strategic. They understood that if you stop wasting brain power on what's for lunch, you have way more bandwidth to, run a country or build a tech empire. But here's the kicker that absolutely nobody expects. Having a boring, structured day actually makes your fun time feel 10 times better. I know what you're thinking. If your life is basically a giant spreadsheet, you must be a total robot who hates surprises, right? Actually, it's the exact opposite. Researchers at the University of Toronto discovered that when your baseline is superstructured, novelty actually hits different. Because your brain isn't used to constant chaos, it notices the small, spontaneous things way more and savors them intensely. That unplanned coffee with a friend? For a routine lover, that's not just a break. It's a full-on dopamine fireworks show because it stands out so vividly against the backdrop of their day. Now, this is where it gets a little controversial. Are these people just control freaks who are terrified of the unknown? Clinical psychologist Dr. Romani says it's a yes and no situation. It's not always about fear. It's about adaptation. We live in a world that is straight up uncontrollable, so creating internal order becomes a legitimate superpower. Just look at what happened during the pandemic. The people who struggled the least were the ones who immediately built new routines. They didn't wait for the world to make sense. They made their own world make sense. They used structure as a shield against the external chaos. But here's the thing. As much as this structure protects you, there is a massive catch. If you're not careful, your brain can actually start to work against you. But hold up, because here's where the trap kicks in. See, there's such a thing as over-routinization, and it can actually shrink your comfort zone until it's the size of a postage stamp. When you live strictly on those neural highways, those repeated behaviors your brain has mapped out, your brain starts pruning away the pathways for new experiences. Basically, you become so insanely good at your routine that anything else starts to feel straight up uncomfortable. If your favorite coffee shop is closed or your gym buddy cancels, it shouldn't feel like the end of the world. But for the hyperstructured, it can feel like everything is going sideways. If you're the type who color codes their Google Calendar like it's a work of art or spends every Sunday meal prepping enough chicken and broccoli to feed a small army, listen up. You aren't neurotic. You're actually using the same high-performance tactics used by the world's elite performers. You're playing chess while the rest of the world is still trying to figure out checkers. But you've got to remember, the goal here isn't perfection, it's optimization. You want the routine to serve you, not the other way around. Because at the end of the day, those habits are only half of the equation. So here's the real talk. Your daily routine is really only half the battle. You can have the most legendary high-performance schedule in the world, but if the space you're actually performing that routine in is working against you, you're basically trying to run a marathon with your shoes tied together. It's wild when you think about it. The physical environment around you is constantly sending silent signals to your brain, rewiring your neural pathways in ways you'd never even guess. Whether it's the lighting in your home office, the way your kitchen is set up, or even the vibe of your bedroom, your surroundings are acting like a physical blueprint for your mind. They can either trigger your best habits or leave you feeling totally drained before you even start. We're talking about a whole other level of psychological influence that's way deeper than just organizing your desk. It's about how your physical world dictates your mental performance. But honestly, that's a massive psychological rabbit hole that deserves its own spotlight. We're diving deep into exactly how your surroundings are secretly controlling your life and how to hack your space in the very next video. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this one. I'll see you there.